Good day, it's Ishola Adeliji Michael, and we are back once again on Success Enlightenment. Today on Success Enlightenment, we are starting our introductory economic classes. All right. A good understanding of economics is very, very important. It's very, very important, even to know economics, because either you like it or not, you are affected by every single economic decision out there, both domestically and internationally. So when you have a mastery and understanding of economics, you have the very basic foundation to actually be more impactful in your society and for you to go far. All right, today we're focusing majorly on the undergraduate understanding of economics, because you have to start from there. The basic introductory class of economics. All right, what we'll be covering today on our introductory economic class. All right, on our introductory economic class this morning, we'll be focusing on four major aspects of economics, four major points of economics. Economics, like every other discipline, the first thing that is of importance to understand is, number one, what is economics? We have to have an understanding of what is economics is. You'll be hearing the word economics, and maybe some of you have a background in economics study in your secondary school. They've given you an Adam Smith definition, Professor Lionel C. Robbins definition. All right. We'll be expanding, we'll be elaborating more on this. We'll be having more concrete understanding and definitions of economics. All right. After that, we'll be moving to the scope of economics. When you hear scope in every discipline, what scope is talking about in every discipline is you're talking of the coverage of the discipline. That is the area of coverage of the discipline, what the discipline studies, what is entails. Under the scope, we're talking about the branches of economics there, which are very, very numerous, but there are two major prevailing branches of economics. So we're talking about that under the scope of economics. Then we move to the word basic economic concept. Now when you hear the word concept in any field of study, what they are talking about is what? The language of the discipline, the language of the studies. All right. The word man will mean a different thing in what? In scientific or biological studies. Whereby in other field of studies, it will mean another word, something differently. Just as we used to use the word man as a verb in English language. All right. So what concept is all about? It's just for you to define the language of the discipline. And this concept, they are very, very important. When you are in the society, in a group of people from other disciplines, the words you use many a times make people understand which discipline you are from. Right? When you are in economics and before you talk 2, 3, you use a term like opportunity cost. Now, you already know that yes, this was have a solid background in what? In economics study, or maybe it's actually an economics. So that is the concept. That's what the concept is all about. Then we're talking about the basic economic problems. Now, I would love to tell you that economics is a solution providing science, right? So economics is a solution providing science. Now, if economics is a solution providing science, there is a need for us to understand what problem economics stand to solve in the society as an individual. We have to have understanding of this word problem. Now we be covering just the basic economic problems. These problems are regarded as the basic economic problem because there are numerous economic problems out there. But all these problems emanated from these basic economic problems. All right. You can also tag this as the basic economic questions of every society. The basic economic questions of every society. Well, we'll be taking this one after the other and we'll be discussing them in details live on Success TV. Once again, I am Ishola Adedeji Michael, and we are starting our introductory economic classes. So now, what is economics? All right. Etymologically, when you talk about etymologically, it means you are tracing the words to its origin, right? Tracing the words to its origin. So etymologically, the word economics is actually coined from two Greek words, oikos and nomos. All right, oikos is a Greek word which means which stands for household. household. Why nomos is a Greek word that stands for what? Management. Management. Alright. Alright. So etymologically, the word economies is coming from two Greek words, oikos and nomos. So that's oikonomos. Oikonomos, which then means household management. So by this, etymologically, we can define economies as household management. Alright. Household management, we have to do with what? The management of what? Household, like these things in the household. Now, when you study this further, in that this household means something broader than what you think now in economics. But let's not divert too much. Let's not bombard ourselves with too much information. For now, just etymologically, the word economics is coming from two Greek words, oikos and what? Nomos, which then implies that economics can be defined as household management etymologically. Okay. All right. We've already defined economics etymologically. So what we're doing now is what? What are the observable facts that economists have observed and they have said about economics? Okay. And here we highlight this into these 3 points right here. Right. The first observable fact about economics that the expert have get to say about economics is that number one, they say that economists provide an analysis as to how an individual or individuals make choices towards maximizing their what? Utility. Alright. The second point there is that what? Economists also provide an analysis as to what? As to how firms organize, operate their operations in order to what? Minimize cost or maximize profit. And lastly, economists provide an analysis as to how a society will allocate our resources in order to attain economic growth and development. Alright, this point actually speaks of the 3 major economic agents or units in every society. In every society, we have 3 major economic agents or units. We have the individual, the household, and we have the what? The firm. We have the individual, we have the household, we have the individual or household. Sorry, we have the individual or household, we have firms, and we have the government. Let me just use household for individual. We have the households, we have the firms, and we have the what? The government. Alright, some of you might want to speak more that there is more than this agent in every economy, but these are the main agents in what? In the economic system. In every economic system, they are the main economic agents. Now, each of these agents, they have their own personal interest. They have what motivates them, what incentivizes them towards making the decision. Alright. Now, for the household, what really incentivizes household towards making decision is what? Is towards what? Utility maximization. Alright, is utility maximization. And that's what is captured in the first observable part about economics. And household, a rational consumer, all he cares about is he wants to obtain maximum benefit on his or her spending. Alright, you want to get maximum benefit on his or her spending. So that's the primary goal of the word of the household. Of the household, if my income is 5,000 naira, I want to be certain that if I'm spending 3,000 out of my 5,000 for my consumptions, my expenses, I want to be certain that that 3,000 I allocate it in such a way that it gives me what? Maximum what? Satisfaction. Alright? It gives me maximum satisfaction compared on all of the choices of commodities I will love to consume over that period of time. That's a household. And as a firm has 2 related goals. They are the same, but 2 related goals, you can feel it in terms of profit or you feel it in terms of cost. That is, firm aim towards what? Profit maximization or cost minimization. Alright, so firms, their primary objective is what? to maximize profit or to minimize cost. All right, they mean the same thing, because when you minimize cost, you are definitely maximizing profit. For you to maximize profit, you have to at least minimize your cost. All right, the firm, they are more concerned is what, how do we organize our operation in most efficient way, most effective way, such a way that cost is what is minimal and profit is maximum. Right, that's what firms is concerned as an economic agent. And this analysis is done in what, in economics. All right, why the government, all right, government is majorly concerned about the general well-being of the people in society. So their primary goal is usually towards what, usually towards economic growth and what, economic development. All right, so that's the primary goals of the government. Their aim is towards achieving economic growth and economic development. All right, this economic growth and economic development, they are twins primary aim of the government. They are not the same thing, although they are related in the sense that for you to actually have what, economic development, you must have had what, economic growth. Economic growth is necessary for you to have economic development. When you're talking about economic growth, we are talking about increase in the aggregate output in an economy. It's as simple as that. Increase in total output in our what, in an economy. When we use the word economy in economics, we are talking about a country, right? An independent state. That's what we are talking about when we talk about what economy in economics. Right? Why, when we talk about economic development goes beyond just increase in the total output in an economy. Talking about, we are more concerned about the what, improvement in the state of things, the standard of living, a healthcare system, the level of education literacy. We're talking about everything that marks what, improvement in the standard of living. So that's what we talk about economic development. Mostly economic growth is usually measured by what, GDP or GNP. GDP, gross domestic product, largely used by developing countries, while GNP, gross national product, is mostly used by the developed world. All right, why economic development is mostly measured by human development world index. All right, so don't let me fill you too much with so many information, but if you have them now, it helps you, it makes you be better on that, like it just puts you ahead of others, right? But majorly my focal point here is this: the three facts I stated, that is, economists analyze how an household make decisions, make choices towards maximizing its utility. All right, is centered about the primary objective of the household. All right, while the second one, firms, which is it also economists analyze what, how firms organizes its operation towards minimizing cost and or maximizing profits. It's also centered about what, the primary goals of the firm. Why the last one is talking about what, it analyzes how a society we allocate its resources towards what, attaining economic growth and economic development. These are what the study of economics will teach you how to analyze as an individual that you are. When you have a mastery of the discipline of economics, you'll be able to make a more informed and rational decision towards what, maximizing your utility. And as some of you will end up working in a firm or being owner of a firm, it also equip you with not sufficient knowledge and tools you need to what, to attain what, cost minimization and profit maximization as a firm. And also some of you that will end up in the government ministry or being head of state in the future. This is what it equip you with the basic skills, knowledge, techniques, what you need to what, to attain what, economic growth and economic development. All right. Now we've covered the etymological understanding of economics, and we've discussed the expert opinion on economics. All right. And that's not all. For academic purpose, we have to discuss four major divisions of economics definition. We have the classical view of economics, we have the neoclassical view on economics, we have the scarcity-based definition of economics, and we have the growth-oriented definition of economics. All of them will be covered. So let's start here with the classical view of economics. All right, the classical view of economics is otherwise popularly called the wealth-based definition of economics. The wealth-based definition of economics. All right, this is because the classical economists, which are the earliest economists, after the change of the discipline of economics from political economics to economics, even before the change of the discipline of economics, because economics was historically called political economy. That was the first name discipline was called. Before the changes, all right, before the changes, this discipline, economics, all right, the earliest people who try to define, who attempt to go on an economic analysis, define this discipline in a word, in term form of wealth, and this is what constitutes the word, the classical view of economics. According to the classical economics, right, the central goal, the main aim of every economic activities is towards what? Wealth. Alright, wealth is seen as an end in itself. That is the primary objective, the end product of every economic activities is towards what? Wealth. It's towards attaining wealth. And that's why the classical economists, that's what they view economics as. The father of economics, which is Adam Smith, champions this view of economics with his book he wrote in 1776 titled An Inquiry into the Nation and Causes of the Wealth of Nation. Adam Smith was a Scottish economist, alright. In his travel, he realized that there is a gap in wealth between Scotland and the neighboring UK country and United Kingdom rather. And it was like that forced him to make an inquiry into why is there a difference with this just small boundary, small boundary. Why is that this country is richer than this one? And that's what constitutes Adam Smith's book in 1776. Adam Smith's book in 1776, An Inquiry into the Nation and Causes of the Wealth of Nations. That's what leads to that. And that is also Adam Smith's definition of economics. Adam Smith defined economics in 1776 as an inquiry into the nation and causes of wealth of nation. That is, you are investigating into the wealth of a nation and what causes the wealth. And that's why the summary of Adam Smith's definition of economics was put as production and expansion of wealth, because his primary motive for his inquiry is first to identify the wealth of a country and what causes it, with the sole aim of what? Of increasing the production and the expansion of wealth. And that's why Adam Smith came out with the principle of what? Division of labor and specialization, because he catch the glimpse of what? Industrial revolution as a catalyst to what? To accumulating more wealth. And he realized that more production is important, is necessary for what? For increased wealth to be attained in the world, in the society. So that's Adam Smith. David Ricardo, Adam Smith majorly focuses on what? Wealth production. If you look at what he ended up postulating, division of labor, specialization, all these are principles that aid in the world in increasing total output, which parametrically increases total wealth, according to Adam Smith, which up to this very moment is still very, very valid. So when David Ricardo come around, he realized that fine, you can make this wealth, and this wealth will not be still well distributed, because when wealth is not distributed, there is a problem in capital wealth formation, right? A problem in capital. Well, in a society where wealth is more evenly distributed, there will be more increased productivity, because every idle hands in the society can be more gainfully engaged. All right. So, and that's what brings David Ricardo to deviate a little. They are saying the same thing. To them, wealth is the end of every economic activities. The only thing David Ricardo tried to do is what? He shifted his attention to just production of wealth to now what? Distribution of wealth. So that is, he increased wealth distribution to the world, to the definition of what? Adam Smith. And then we come to James Baptist Say. David Ricardo is a British economist, is an English economist. While James Baptist Say is a French economist. All right. The French economists also have a say about what is what economics is. To him, he defined economics as the science of the production, distribution, and consumption of wealth. What James Baptist did is what? He included consumption to his own definition. He included what? Consumption to his own definition of economics in his analysis, in his thinking. There is that fine. All right, Adam Smith has talked largely, extensively on the production of wealth. And David Ricardo has shifted attention to the distribution of wealth, but he didn't make it concrete yet. So what Jean-Baptiste did was what? He include consumption and further elaborate what? Distribution of wealth. That's his contribution to the definition of economics as a classical economist. Why? The last but not, this is not to say that we have only 4 classical economists. We have more than 4 classical economists. In fact, the popular Thomas Robert Malthus is part of the classical economists, right? But I just want to base this on these 4 major definitions. Then John Stuart Mill. Alright, John Stuart Mill came around and defined economics as the law governing mankind in the production of wealth. Law governing mankind in the production of wealth. To John Stuart Mill, economics is seen as a set of principles towards achieving the desired goal. Remember, to the classical economists, the desired goal is to what? Is to make more wealth. The wealth is seen as a what? As an end in itself. That's to a classical economist, wealth is seen as an end in itself. That's the classical economist. So the law governing mankind in the production of this wealth is what John Stuart Mill view economists as. And this definition of economics, alright, he didn't really pass the test of time because not too long they started being criticized. One of the strong criticism of this was provided by David Hume, who said that since economics is based on where then we can say economics is a gospel of what? Mammonism. A gospel of what? Mammon. That is a picture of what? Wealth, which is then against the what? The large structure Roman Catholic Church. Then so there was a lot of problem as far as this wealth-based definition of economics. Most of these problems led to further studies and further thinking as far as the dictionary of economics is concerned. And that's why Alfred Marshall came in to bring about the neoclassical economics definition, the neoclassical definition of economics. Alright, but before we go into the neoclassical definition of economics, the classical definition of economics were strongly criticized, and the reason of this can be what? Can be narrowed down into these 3 main points. Number one thing that they said about this definition is that this definition is what? Is narrow-minded. And why is this definition narrow-minded? Because this definition focuses primarily on wealth. The emphasis is focuses primarily on wealth. And in his definition of wealth, other services you produce, other services you engage in that doesn't generate wealth, doesn't generate cash, is not seen as economic activities. For instance, the activities of a doctor, alright, of a doctor is not seen according to this definition. And these are essential services in our society. These are essential services in our society. What this definition focus primarily on is the production. And the production is limited, the service sector of the production. The services aspect of production was neglected by this definition. Alright, the services aspect was neglected in this definition. The focal point was basically on the what? On the manufacturing aspect. And the manufacturing aspect that was focused then was largely agriculture and few industrial what? Setup that was in existence then. But all the service aspect was what? Was neglected in the definition, in the classical definition of economics. So thus, the definition is thereby labeled to be what? Narrow-minded. Furthermore, this definition put more emphasis, in fact, it put more emphasis on what? On wealth, that it neglects the humans. Alright? It neglects human. According to this definition, wealth is seen as an end in itself, where in reality, wealth is never an end in itself. Wealth is needed for what wealth can be used to attain. Alright? That is the woman. Woman is still the central focal. But in this definition, there is no emphasis on woman. There's no emphasis on woman. Alright? There's no emphasis on woman. There's nothing like this one that you can have 50 billion in your house, and there's nothing you can purchase with it. If this 50 billion cannot satisfy any of your needs, because what you really need is not the money, but what you need is what the money can attain. What you can purchase with the money is what you need, and the fact that you need what money can buy, that's why you need money. The demand for money is a derived demand. But according to this definition, the demand for money is not a derived demand, as money is seen as an end in itself. So this definition is therefore criticized for the lack of what? emphasis on human welfare. All right, and lastly, there is narrow definition of what of wealth by this definition. According to this definition, wealth definition is tied down to what? To labor incentive. That is the wages paid to the world, to the labor. So that's how narrow this definition define wealth. And wealth goes beyond just what you pay to the labor. If you this person the definition of wealth goes beyond that. Right, returns on investment is also part of what wealth, retain profit, and all. So this definition is therefore what narrow, give a narrow definition of wealth. These are the three main criticism labeled on this what definition. All right, so I didn't make criticism labeled on this definition based on the fact that this classical view of economics is centered around what wealth, and they see wealth as an end, not a means to an end, but an end according to the classical economics. All right, the neoclassical based definition of economics. All right, gone by having an understanding of the classical view of economics and the criticism that follows the definition of economics by the classicalists. So we progress to the neoclassical definition of economics. And this is largely credited to what? Alfred Marshall. Alright, Alfred Marshall's contribution to economics in this by presenting this neoclassical perspective about economics is largely why up to today economics is studied under the faculty of social sciences, because Alfred Marshall make it clear to the world that economics studies what? Human behavior. That is the first one to actually bring economics to actually try down to what is a study of what human behavior, and thus economic social sciences. I've taken my time to write out his definition here, quite a bit long, but all he's saying is that the end of every human activities is never to make wealth. It's never the intention of what increasing wealth, or the primary objective, the real end of every economic action is towards what? Maximizing material welfare, that is human welfare, material well-being. Right? Wealth is desired not for its use by itself, but because it can use to attain material well-being, material represent. And this is stated clearly in his long definition, where he defined economics as the study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. Alright? That is in his endeavors in life, study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. And it examines the part of individual and social action. Not every aspect of this human behavior in its ordinary business of life is examined in economics, but the aspect that is examined according to Alfred Marshall is that part of individual and social actions which is most closely related with the attainment and use of material well-being. Closely related with the what? With the attainment and uses of material well-being. That is those aspects of human and individual and social actions in their day-to-day activities that is closely related to what? The attainment of the requisite for well-being, and what? And the use of what? This requisite. The requisite of well-being is wealth. Alright, that's what you need to attain well-being. You need wealth to attain, to buy things. You need maybe a car, a house, get shelter, clothing, your basic and necessary biological wants. Alright, so that is the requisite. You need is wealth for that, and the attainment, the uses of it. Alright, that's what this definition is talking about. And from this definition, three facts up to today remain valid from this definition. Which is the first one is economics is a what? It's a science of material welfare. Right, and this is why in most cases they often say that economists are stingy. Right, yeah, in most cases they say that he's an economist, you can't marry him, he'll be stingy. Oh, that one, I don't mind him, it's because he's an economist. Alright, I won't talk much more on that, but I will just say that being a rationalist or a rational thinker doesn't actually mean stinginess. Alright, it just means you appreciate value in your spending. It's as simple as that. So am I stingy? No. Okay, don't let me judge myself. Right, so economics is a science of material well-being, right, from this definition. And also economics is a social science because We talk about study mankind, that is human in the ordinary business of life, in its daily activities. That's what it means. So economics is a social sciences. And lastly, economics studies rational behavior of people as they maximize their material welfare. Economics study rational behavior of people. All right, this is just it. This is just it. All right, but the point is, we can't just stop at this definition. This definition has already encompasses so many sweet juice that economics gives you for studying it. Trust me. But the point is, there are things that are still not in this definition, and this is why this definition has its own criticism. So I will go there. We go on with the criticism of the what, the neoclassical or material welfare based definition of economics. Okay, Professor Lord Lionel C. Robbins provided criticism to the Alfred Marshall welfare-based definition of economics. All right. The basic criticism for this comes from the use of the two terms material welfare. All right. The criticize of the priority with the use of the term word material. All right. When you use the word material in defining what economics, you have automatically excluded the non-material well-being. All right. Our material well-being, like chairs, physical things. So automatically the non-material things have been taken out of it, like earth, that means service of a doctor. Right, you're taking it out of it, which brings down that the welfare economics definition is also provide a narrow-minded definition of economics. The same mistake Alfred Marshall criticized in the classical economics, he ended up making that same mistake when he used the word material, as the non-material welfare were excluded in his in his analysis and in his thinking of what economic phenomenon. All right. Also, there's problem actually with the use of the term welfare or well-being. All right. The major problem actually with the use of the term is that the word welfare or well-being is subjective. All right. It is not an objective word. You cannot actually analyze and study it objectively, because it is subjective. It varies from an individual to another. All right. So by this definition, it seems it has been to be yet to create a solid foundation for the analysis of economic problem. And this is what led to a more celebrated definition of economics, usually popular in the elementary basic economic studies and understanding, which is the definition that is given by Professor Lord Lionel C. Robbins himself in 1932. Professor Lord Lionel C. Robbins in 1932, in his book and essay on the nature and significance of economic science, there he provided the definition that is popularly known as the scarcity-based definition of economics, after he had criticized the material welfare-based definition of economics as the neoclassical definition of economics. And this scarcity-based definition of economics is a modern definition of economics. It's provided in the 20th century, 1932. All right. The definition is built on these three major observable facts about economics activities. The first thing you know be observed is that we have unlimited want. That is, human desires are unlimited. They are insatiable. They want numerous things. As they satisfy one want, they want another one. As they satisfy one, they want another one. They keep on wanting. They never stop wanting. So he realized that this to be a fact, and also he realized that the resources, all right, which is the means, the resources that man needs to satisfy this their want is limited, all right, or scarcity, that is limited in supply. So realize that the woman has limited resources to satisfy this or limited one, and they also realize that these limited resources that man has, they have alternative uses. That is, you can use a resources for more than one purpose. You can use it to either attain this goal or use it for other goal, which means man has a choice as to what he wants to commit his resources to attain. These three principles is what Robbins discovered, and that's what actually laid the foundation for Professor Lionel C. Robbins' 1932 definition in his book and essay on the nature and significance of economic science. And here is Robbins' definition. It defines economics as the science which studies human behavior. Now, by the studies human behavior, Lionel C. Robbins further accept the fact that economics is a social science. Alright, it further goes that studies human behavior as a relationship between earns and scarce means. That is, it studies human behavior as a relationship between their unlimited want and limited resources which have alternative uses. That is the primary goal, according to according to Professor Lionel C. Robbins, is what? Is how do you attain the maximum output from unlimited want and scarce resources, noting that these our scarce resources has alternative uses. That's Lionel C. Robbins' definition, and this definition has been one of the most popular definitions going around as far as economics is concerned. But to our surprise, we've had another definition after this Professor Lionel C. Robbins' definition, which we call the growth-oriented definition of economics, that is largely put forward by Paul Anthony Samuelson. Alright, but here we are. This is Professor Lionel C. Robbins' definition of economics, and it's termed the scarcity-based definition of economics. Is this definition, is it flawless? No, this definition also has its criticism. The main reason of the scarcity-based definition of economics by Professor Lionel C. Robbins are one, this definition also implied welfare. Alright, don't forget, Lionel C. Robbins criticized the material welfare-based definition of economics in terms of difficulties with the term welfare. That is, welfare is subjective. Also, in the Lionel C. Robbins' definition of economics, right, what is actually implied with limited resources, or limited want and limited resources have alternative uses, how you make that to attain maximum output, maximum resources, or maximum objective, maximum resource society is still implying welfare, which Lionel C. Robbins has earlier criticized. So this definition also implies welfare. That's the criticism. The other criticism is what there's a problem in identifying difference between ends and means, because this problem comes with what we have. We have semi-finished goods, like some industry or some firm output serves as input in other firm. Right? So there's problem in distinguishing between ends and means. The intermediary finished product would create a problem there. So that's major problem. But the real problem with Lionel C. Robbins' definition is that it failed to discuss the concept of economic growth and development, because this definition came at the time where the entire world is focusing, especially the developing world, is focusing on attaining economic growth and development. But this Lionel C. Robbins' definition was so silent about the problem of economic growth and development. It was silent. Lionel C. Robbins' definition focusing mainly on production and factor pricing, factor allocation. All right, to Professor Lionel C. Robbins, scarcity is the root of economic problem in the world, in society. That's Lionel C. Robbins' problem. But this economic growth and development, economic growth and development, further make us understand that if scarcity is a problem, real problem of the economic problem of society, if scarcity is really the problem, then there's no solution, because we cannot cure scarcity. Scarcity is a reality. But in real fact, the problem of the real root of economic problem is not scarcity. It is the fact that resources are being misallocated, poor decisions are being made, priorities are being wrongly set, and that's what brings about economic growth and development, which we are not attempting to reallocate and redistribute economic resources towards attaining desired level of growth and development. And this is what led to the last definition I'll be discussing here, which is the Paul Anthony Samuelson definition of economics, which is called the growth-oriented definition of economics, or say the growth-based definition of economics. So the growth-based definition of economics, or the growth-oriented definition of economics, was given by Paul Anthony Samuelson, as I've said earlier. It's a more longer definition of economics, all right, But I've already explained it. It's just telling you that yes, there is scarcity, yes, but the real problem is not the scarcity. It's just the misallocation of what resources. That's what that's what Paul Anthony Samuelson is actually saying. Right? He doesn't really discard the scarcity-based definition of economics. It's just modified in that it includes what economic growth and development to economic analysis. The definition by Paul Anthony Samuelson, he defined economics as the study of how people and society, by society, people, that is the entire community, ends up choosing with or without the use of money. Don't forget, money in itself is not an end, it means to an end. To employ scarce productive resources that have alternative uses to produce various commodities. How you choose to employ your resources towards production of what? Various commodities over time. One, and distribute them. It doesn't end in just the production, and distribute them for consumption. But is you distribute them for immediate consumption or for consumption now, that is use them for immediate consumption or in the future among various persons or groups in the world, in the society. All it does is what? It bring in what? The concept of growth and development into the economics definition. After you've mastered all these definition of economics, that is literally in an examination situations, if you are asked to define economics or what is economics, it is expected students start their definition with the etymological definition of economics. You can state the expert opinion. There are just 3 sentences, 3 lines. Then you can give at least one definition in the classical definition of economics. Then maybe two. All right. Do your due diligence to put the books they write, the year at which they give the definition when they write the books there. All right. The neoclassical definition just explain what Alfred Marshall. Then scarcity-based definition give Professor Lionel C. Robbins. The growth-based definition states Paul Anthony Samuelson. Then conclusively, you have to make them understand that there is no single definition of economics. That is, there is no one definition of economics that encompasses all the aspects of economics. So economics doesn't have a universally acceptable definition. And some of the reasons why economics doesn't have acceptable universal definition is that economics is a relatively what? It's a new discipline. It's a new discipline. Alright, it's a new discipline that is still emanating, is still evolving. Alright, further studies is still into the aspect of economics. New branches of economics still keep somewhat coming up. We are still exploring. Lately, we're having what? Digital economy, right? Cryptocurrency and the likes. We're having so many waves coming in. So those are new part of what? Economics. So many parts of economics is still coming. Economics of uncertainty, insurgency, thereabout. All right, it's a new discipline. Then another thing is that the economists that have defined economics, many of them they define economics in the context of what? Of the economic problem in their environment. That is, economics is not independent, it's not geographically independent. That is, economics is not geographically independent. All right. Every economist who have defined economics define it based on the experience in their what? In their geographical state. Adam Smith defined economics based on what he observed in Scotland and UK. All right. Jim Baptiste defined economics based on what he observed in France and other related European world countries. Ibn Khaldun is part of the classical economists. Ibn Khaldun is part of the what? Classical economists. Khaldun is part of the classical economists. He's an African man. I love to mention his name. Right? I'm an African too, so we see him as our first scholars that we ever had. So bring respect to him. Right? So he's not geographically what? Independent. It's not geographically independent. And another reason why economics doesn't have one definition that defines it is that what? he studies what? Human behavior. That is, it is a social science discipline. One very solid quality of almost all the social science disciplines that they don't have a single definition, and that is because they studies human being whose behavior is likely and highly unpredictable. I thank God for the further study that has bring in what econometrics and statistical analysis to economics, as well as mathematical application, which has made economics arguably the most scientific discipline in the social sciences. But still, notwithstanding the fact that it studies human behavior, makes generalization absolutely almost impossible. So therefore, these three main reasons account for why economics doesn't have a single definition that defines economics as a discipline, or like what we have in chemistry, in sciences, like that. So that's it. Right, with this we come to the end of this video. In this video we discuss what is what economics. All right, in next video we continue with our introductory economic courses. All right, feel free, go through this. If there's something you don't understand or there's something you want me to elaborate more, feel free to message me directly on my WhatsApp. You can call. All right, you can call. Right, I'll be more than happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you to see how far we can go. I can learn from you, definitely, and I believe this video has been a blessing to you. Don't just watch the video. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment, and take your time to go through our other videos that we've made on economics and other related content we've been covering. We focus on economics, but we engage in likely enlightenment. We have so many things on this channel. We have financial literacy enlightenment. We have cryptocurrency enlightenment. We have so many content on this. So if any one of them catch your interest, please do well to like and comment, but most importantly, subscribe, so that next time I have an interesting and exciting video like this, trust me, you'll be the first to be notified. Thank you. I remain my humble self, Ishola Adedeji Mike, and it's once again success enlightenment. Thank you.